In this video, we're going to look how to make our character shoot, as you can see. And notice also, if I do it way over, where am I shooting her? Over this way, notice that the bullet eventually disappears, okay? What this video will not show you is how to make the bullet collide with an enemy and then kill the enemy. That you should be able to figure out yourself based on the collision video. So let's get started. Step 1, change into Blender Game. Let's change our bottom thing to Logic Editor and pressing N and zooming in a bit. Alright, so I'm just going to move my character a little bit out, and right away I'm going to choose local. And it's going to be very important we do this later on, because if not, it's not going to make any sense. Alright, so deselect my cube, Shift A, add a plane, S30. Alright, so now if I select my cube and make him, if I can get to the physics tab here, there we go, a character, if I press P, there he is. Perfect. Alright, now it's going to move a bit to the right and change my view because it can just start off onto the side, so shooting that way. Alright, so what we have to do is to first make my character move. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do the whole first-person shooter thing with the camera. You can do that yourself. I'm just going to add a very simple mouse movement, and that is going to make it a motion, I believe. No, I want to make it look. So let me quickly just find it here, so I got, yeah, so movement. And then I'm going to add an actuator that is a mouse. And instead of mode visibility, I'm going to make it look. And I am going to check off the y-axis. I don't care what the y-axis. And so then now if I change my view real quick and press P, okay, left and right with my mouse, okay? That's all the motion I'm going to do for the cube. You can obviously make it a full first-person shooter in your game. All right, now we're going to choose a location for where the bullets are going to come from or spawn. So Shift A. I'm going to add an empty plane axis as we used to do for the respawn. So my bullets right now would show up here, which makes no sense. So I'm going to go to my right view and just move it back. And if I press 5, obviously I get the ortho view, which makes it a lot easier. And I want to go to the top view and make sure it is just basically in front of my cube, because that's where I want the bullets to originate from. Just like the camera, we want the spawn to follow the cube. So if I zoom in a little bit here, I would have my empty object first selected. I'll hold Shift and select my cube. Now you know this comes Control P object. So now it's parented. All right. So now if I change if I just press G, for example, both of them move together. Or deselect and just press my cube, press G, they both move together. All right. So my next step, as you notice, I've moved my 3D cursor to the middle here, is to add the kind of bullet that I would like to have. So for me, just for fun, I am going to select a torus. And now the higher the definition your bullets are, the more memory intensive it is for your computer. So for this one, I'm just going to reduce the major segments a bit lower and the minor just a bit lower, just to reduce how many pixels basically it has to deal with. And then we'll click on smooth. So there it is. I'm going to give it a color so we can actually see this bullet fly. So green is fine. And my intensity, I still don't want it to be too crazy, and this is a bit darker. I don't want to shade it. Now, I want it to obviously come out from the gun, but I don't want it to look like this when it comes out. So I was going to go to my right view, press R, 90, and then move it, pressing G to there. It's fine. It doesn't really matter where it is. You'll see why in a second. And I'm going to scale it. The reason why I'm doing that is just to scale it and see how it looks beside my cube. So there's my bullet. Now, obviously, I don't want that bullet to be coming from there, and also it also needs to match, the direction needs to match my cube. Because if we look at my cube, right, my y-axis is this way, but for my bullet, it's that way. And that's not going to make any sense. So you're going to go to Object, Apply, Rotation and Scale. And now notice that it's facing the same way as everything else. Okay, everything, even the empty object, all has to face the same way. And that's why the local was important in the first place. All right, so our next step is to move the bullet to its own layer. So press M like Mickey Mouse and move it to the layer below. So rest right there, that's fine. So if I go over here, notice here I have a little circle here. There's my bullet there, and I have no bullets there. So I want it to appear from this object, from the empty object. So I select my empty object. I am going to add a mouse sensor, and this time I want it to be left button, right? Every time I click the left button, it is going to create a bullet. So my actuator is going to be Edit Object. And now this is where I've kind of made a mistake. I haven't named my ring. So I'm going to go back to my second layer, select my ring, and in my object here, instead of torus, okay, just name it ring or bullet. I guess makes way more sense. Okay, so there's my bullet. All right, named bullet. So now if I go back here and select my empty object, I am going to add object. And in this case, let's make this a bit smaller, bigger here. I'm going to make an object called bullet appear. So let me just take this and press P. And if I click, notice there it is, okay? And no matter which way I'm facing, okay, it's creating the bullet. Now you obviously can see some of the problems is that it is not moving. So we're going to go to our second layer. And in this case, we are going to add a sensor called always, because we always want it to move. Okay. And we want it to move. So motion. And this is where you set the speed of your bullet. So it's along the y-axis, okay, because it's local. It's always going to be along the y-axis. So if let's say we put 0.8, for example, and I close this up, okay, and I go back to my first layer and press P. If I shoot, there it is, okay? And no matter which way I'm facing, okay, it is shooting, which is great. Couple problems we want to follow, okay? Oh, sorry, we want to solve. Okay, it's going to go back to the bullet and make it disappear after a while. Because if not, technically the bullet's always there. And if you have a huge game, all it's going to do is take up memory for your game. So, having my bullet selected, I'm just going to make these a bit smaller. I'm going to add a delay. And my delay, remember, my delay is how long? 60 is for 1 second. So after 90 seconds, or let's, for example, it'll be 6. After 1 second, I want it to disappear. So here, I'm going to edit object, add an actuator. In this case, I just want to end the object. So after 60 or 1 second, it ends. So I'll go back here and connect it all up. Go back to my first one, press P, and if I shoot, it should disappear. Now let me change my view so I can see it go. There it disappears. Perfect. No matter where I shoot, it will disappear after 1 second. The other thing I want to do, I don't know where I am, but I'm pretty sure now what we want to do is make it look like a machine gun. So instead of always having to click, okay, I can just push my mouse button down and it shoots. So what I want to do is here, selecting my empty object, where I have my left button sensor. If I click on the first one here, or is it the second one? Should be the first one. Oops. First one here. Okay. If I press P now, okay, a ridiculous amount of bullets will be fired. So for my frequency, let's make it 5, for example. So now I press P now. Okay. There it is, which is a lot more reasonable, keeping my mouse pushed down. If you want to be able to shoot that fast, obviously machine gun style.